Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to VEIN TV, where we are here live at the Myrtle Beach Speedway for race number 5 of 6 for the RBR Maritime iRacing League. Tonight it is the VEINOTTE'S Auto 125 at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. It is going to be a action-packed, accelerated night tonight. Very important night as well, as it is the final week for the opportunity to get your drop week calculated. So heading into next week's championship going to be extremely important with that being calculated and having a major impact on the run for this championship title. Good evening again, everybody. My name is Kyle Young, here bringing you live flag-to-flag coverage of tonight's event. And joining me, as always, right next door in the replay control booth, pressing all the buttons, making the beautiful visuals pop up on your screen, whether that be a computer, a cell phone, whatever it may be. That is Paul Showtime Strickland Jr. Kevin England is not with me tonight, but who is with me tonight, a driver who is wow, I'm promoting you already, Tim, an announcer who is very familiar with these drivers. It sounds so much better when I line it up the right way. Tim Terry, sitting next to me here in the announcer's booth. Tim, how are we doing tonight?
Well, you called me a driver, which would mean that I have talent, and I don't. So I'll take that, I guess. But yeah, it's nice to be here. Usually I'm behind a microphone with iRacing on a Tuesday night, but we did that yesterday. I feel like it's a Wednesday, but it's a Tuesday. But excited to be here. Know a lot of these guys, whether it's from the real racetrack or doing the sim racing thing. So I'm excited to see these guys go. As you can see, qualifying on the racetrack, Mike Rhino just passed the clock. Brett Suggs currently fastest. I'm excited to see some short track racing tonight.
As am I. We've been seeing some great races out of this group over the last few weeks. Again, with this being the penultimate race of the season, the championship fight, very important. They have a drop week within these first 5 races, so after tonight they will know what their drop week is going to be, and that will have a major impact on giving these guys the opportunity to race for a championship. We've seen a lot of great competition. The points battle is close. It should be another good night. Looking through the survey here, we have another long list of drivers that are going to be attempting to make the 27-car field in these upcoming heat races, and with this being a much wider, a little bit bigger racetrack than what we've seen over the last few weeks, should provide these guys a little bit more space to work with and create some exciting racing along the way.
Yeah, I like Myrtle Beach Speedway. It's a different racetrack. You have to race it a little bit different than most of the short tracks on the service. Obviously, with the real world, the bulldozers have come in and kind of taken this place, moving ahead and moving forward. But I like this place. I like the way it races. I'm excited to see what these guys can do. Got some heat races coming up. Then the feature, fixed setups. They've only got one set of tires in the pits. It's an 8-tire race. It's 125 laps, so they're going to have to take care of their stuff throughout this one. Excited to see really how this plays out.
Yeah, as am I. We've been running on the flat tracks over the last few weeks. We were at Langley Speedway last week, Oxford Plains Speedway 2 weeks ago. Tonight here at Myrtle Beach, a much different racetrack than those two. You have a lot more space to work with, longer straightaways, wider turns. Could very well see a more prominent outside line tonight than what we've been seeing over the last few weeks. It's very hard in these short 125 lappers to get that top side to really work in, but I think we have a better opportunity of seeing that tonight. With this being a relatively flat track and longer turns, I think that those middle and outer grooves will have a much better opportunity to be prevalent throughout the night here tonight than what we've seen prior.
Yeah, as we continue to work through here, the qualifying just wrapping up here. A couple of moments still left for these drivers to get some laps in, but currently Brett Suggs at the top of the board, the Southeast Super Trucks driver, Mike Alexander, Chris Roma, Riley Duncan, and Matthew Barkhouse, your top 5. So there's some big names there. And you mentioned the passing at a premium, track position, qualifying is key. These heat races are going to be key as well to get yourself up front and have a position to win this 125 lapper and, not have to use this as your drop week going into that season finale next week.
Yeah, without a doubt. You would much rather go into this event with an opportunity to gain on points and not have to worry about this being your drop and going into everybody's going to go into next week as a one-and-done ordeal. No matter what happens next week, that is going to count for you. This race may not, but that's definitely not at all what you want to use for this event. If I was one of these competitors out here tonight, I'd be looking through that point standings block, seeing what finish at the moment is my finish that is going to count for the drop week, and see if I can better that, because I know that way I'm gaining points going into next week. I'm not having to worry about just sitting at the current point total that I'm currently at right now and worrying about the drivers around me gaining more points. I can gain more points if I can beat that finish. So that would be my personal mindset coming into this. We'll see what everybody else's does, as looks like we're about 10 seconds away from getting ready to grid for our first heat race.
Yeah, final couple of moments here before these drivers will hit the grid for heat races. 3 heat races, 10 laps apiece. Everybody's going to qualify for the feature, just a matter of where they start. And Mr. Brett Suggs is going to start on the pole for heat race number 1 as we get ready to grid these race cars.
So same format as we have been using throughout the first month of this series. We will have 3 10-lap heat races where we will qualify the top 9 from each of them, and that will set the field for tonight's Vino's Auto 125. No last chance qualifier, no consolation, nothing like that. You've got to get it done in this heat race. So the pressure is on for these drivers. We've got 10 of them starting in this first one, so only 1 car going to be sent home, and there actually might only be 9 starting. I see the 10th place starter in this race didn't set a qualifying lap, so I'm not sure if Scott Alexander is a competitor or if he is an administrator. I see he's got a practice time, so he could be a competitor here, so we'll see what happens as the grid gets lined up here. So take you through it on the pole, and the number 33 machine is Brett Suggs. Outside pole sitter in the 97 is Riley Duncan. Inside of row number 2, he'll line up in third. That is the 2 machine of Ashton Tucker, and Jake Goodwin in the Napa Auto Parts number 24 will line up in 4th. Completing your top 5 starters in the 00 is Tanton Woolridge, and starting in 6th in car number 70 is Brandon Lively. 7th place starter on the inside of row number 4 is the 29 of Daniel Vitch, and Lewis Mason, piloting the number 84 car tonight, will roll off in position number 8. Your final row, 5th and final row on the inside, starting 9th, is the 52 of Nicholas Mott, and the 10th place starter in car number 55, who is out there, will be Scott Alexander. So we do have 10 cars fighting for 9 spots in our first 10-lap heat race.
And we know how great the iRacing service is sometimes trying to get these heat races in and what have you. I know Craig Weigel, who's one of our race administrators in the server as a driver, not as a spectator. Jared Butcher, I don't believe, is in here. Jared did some practice laps, but not in the server. So we might be starting this feature with 26 cars because those other cars are gridded in the other 2 heat races. So, Kyle, you're going to have to not finish last in this heat in order to guarantee yourself to get into the show. And there's a lot of big names in here. You look at the inside of those first 2 rows, you got Brett Suggs, the Southeast Super Truck Series driver, Ashton Tucker, the Remax 250 champion, and Brett Suggs is about to get on the hammer.
Indeed he is. The pace car is down on pit road. We're about to see our first green flag drop on the evening. They slowly work their way out of turn 4. There's the green flag, and we are underway with our first heat race here tonight. Great start on the outside there for Riley Duncan. He is going to clear down to the bottom and take over the race lead. Jake Goodwin saw that, going to try to pull up to the outside of Brett Suggs, but can't quite do it. Caution flag flies here as they go into turn 3.
A caution flag early in this heat race as we will re-rack him and restack him. I see Scott Alexander is sideways in turn number 2, and a little bit of front-end damage to the Celtic Airs Xander signs number 55, so that may be what brought out our caution, Kyle.
Sure appears to be that way. Paul, we're going to get you right to work pretty early here. What did you see through that one?
Yeah, taking a quick look here at the Kick-Ass Beef Jerky instant replay. Easy enough for me to say. We're going to focus in that light blue, that cyan and black number 55 car, and the number 52 car of Nicholas Mott. You can see it looks like it was just 2 drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate. 55 comes down a bit, 52 comes up a little bit. No major damage, it looks like. You can see the 55 noses it into the outside of the wall there as he's trying to get around. That's a tough break, and you can see the pace car coming up behind him there. So a lot of big-time nose damage on that 55 car. You got to wonder if that's going to hold on for the next 6 to 7 laps.
Yeah, without a doubt, we'll have to monitor that through the remaining laps of this heat race. The caution laps do count during this caution period, so that does click away at the available green flag laps to happen once we do go back to green flag. So If you're Riley Duncan, not really too much of a concern there, but if you're Scott Alexander there, who just got caught up in that incident, you would obviously like to have more of an opportunity to get that one spot. Going to line up right on the back bumper there of the 52 of Nicholas Mott for this restart. Well, actually, right next to him, I believe we do double file for these heat races, so the damage not going to help him any, but he still at least has an opportunity to overcome that and qualify for the feature.
Yeah, still going to have a chance to re-rack him at the back of the field and, you know, try to make up at least one position to guarantee yourself a spot in this evening's feature event. We got some really good drivers in this one. Tanton Woolridge is in here. Currently in position number 6, trying to work his way up. He's got Ashton Tucker in front of him, Brett Suggs. It's almost like that front row, or that inside row that was on the initial start is kind of on the outside now as the pace car lights go off. You got Suggs, you got Tucker, you got Woolridge on the outside. Riley Duncan was able to get the jump on that initial start. Kyle, we'll see if he can do it here again as the pace car will peel off here.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how this works with these guys flip-flopping lanes there. Riley Duncan showing great strength on that initial start. We'll see what he can do as the control car on this restart. They'll take it with 5 laps complete, and Riley Duncan just absolutely leaves the field in his wake coming out of turn number 4. Jumps out to the race lead. 5 down, 5 to go here. Brett Suggs, Jake Goodwin, Ashton Tucker, they'll all go single file. The first side-by-side is just behind them as Tanton Woolridge goes around the outside of Brandon Lively for P5.
Yeah, Woolridge sailed it on in to pick up that position. Brandon Lively in the Diamond Water treatment. Number 70 has to fall back one spot. Ashton Tucker in front of them, battling with Jake Goodwin, trying to get position number 3 away as these laps continue to click off. This time by, they'll complete lap number 7. They'll have 3 laps to go.
Brett Suggs starting to reel in race leader Riley Duncan just a little bit. He peeks to the inside going into turn 1. Doesn't have position, so he'll fall back in line. Almost closes right up to the back bumper of the number 97 machine, but still holding a little bit of distance. Looks to the inside again. Duncan chops him off. Doesn't want to sacrifice that race lead. He right on board there with Brett Suggs. Gets a slight wiggle there coming off of turn number 4. He sees the popsicle sticks. 2 laps to go. Suggs looking racy here for the win.
Suggs was driving it deep the last couple laps down into turn number 1, but couldn't make it happen. Now Riley Duncan going to lead them through 3 and 4. Little bump. Brett Suggs is there looking to make the move. They'll come up this time and see the white flag final lap, and here comes Suggs. Takes a look to the inside. Does he lean into him a little bit here?
Suggs trying to get aggressive for the heat race win. Down the back straightaway they go for the final time. What does the 33 machine do? He looks to the inside, gives him a shot in the bumper, moves the 97 up a lane out of turn number 4. Duncan's into the outside wall, and Suggs will get the heat race win. About that, Brett Suggs' last turn pass. Little bit of a shot in the keister to Riley Duncan. He takes it, wins heat race number 1. Duncan will finish in position number 2. Ashton Tucker hangs on for 3rd. Jake Goodwin 4th. Tanton Woolridge completes your top 5. Brandon Lively is 6th. Lewis Mason 7th. Daniel Vitch in 8th. Nicholas Mott in 9th. And unfortunately for Scott Alexander, was not able to overcome the damage and the first lap spin. He will finish 10th and miss tonight's VEINOTTE'S Auto 125.
And just like that, heat race number 2 lining up on the pit road, 8 strong, getting ready to come out and put on a show for this second heat race to qualify for this VEINOTTE'S Truck and Auto 125.
Your pole sitter here for heat race number 2. What a stacked front row this is. Mike Alexander in car number 75 will be your pole sitter, and the outside pole sitter is his brother, Matthew Barkhouse, in the 15 machine. Row number 2 on the inside, Kyle Gaiman in car number 98 will roll off in 3rd, and Travis Roma in the 38 will start in position number 4. Mark Williams, he drives the 42 machine. He will be your 5th place starter, and on his outside, starting in 6th, is the 21 of Roger Down. Final row on the inside, starting 7th, is the 89 of Conrad Murphy, and his dancing partner to the outside, starting in position number 8, is the 17 of Brad Hayes. So no worries for these guys about making it into the show. They will be able to do that as we only have 8 of them starting. So this is just purely a race for starting position and maybe a little bit of experience and some knowledge to set yourself up for tonight's VEINOTTE'S Auto 125.
We've seen these top 2 many times here on Vidane TV. They know their way around a short track on this iRacing service. We'll see what they can do and see if there's any team orders or anything at the front of the field as they get ready to throw this green flag for 10 laps.
Mike Alexander on the bottom, Matthew Barkhouse on the top side. Alexander comes into the night as the two-time defending race winner, looking to make it 3 in a row. We get to see him in action now. Green flag is out. Heat race 2 begins. They charge down into turn number 1, pretty even between the two brothers on the front row. Barkhouse got a little out of shape there on the top side and will allow Alexander to pull ahead going down the back straightaway. The bottom side is open there for Kyle Gammon to fill the hole. He does so, but Barkhouse with a nice run off of turn number 4 will hang on to position number 2, but that fender just still to the inside there for the 98 of Gammon.
The Sheriff looking for position number 2 to the inside of the 15 of Barkhouse as they'll drive down the back straightaway. Travis Roma sitting in position number 4. Barkhouse able to clear the 98 that time on the back straightaway, so move the 15 to second. The 98 of Gammon back to position number 3 as the 75 of Alexander continues to pace this field. And as you look back, those top 4 kind of single file right now, kind of riding, kind of happy with their position, it looks like.
Yeah, a much cleaner start there than the first one. Everybody getting into position here, just kind of figuring out what they got for the moment. Lap number 3 will go into the books, and already Mike Alexander has a half-second lead over his brother Matthew Barkhouse. No surprise to see these two up at the front and to see the strength of Mike Alexander already. Mentioned just a moment ago that he has won the last 2 races in this series at Langley Speedway and Oxford Plains Speedway, so these flat tracks definitely a benefit to him. This being another one could be another night for Alexander to shine, and he's showing that right now.
Come by this time and get the halfway signal. The only real close battle on the racetrack. Kind of a little bit of a battle for position number 2 there. Corner your eye there, Conrad Murphy, the 89, battling with the 42 of Mark Williams. Conrad Murphy goes to the inside. That's the battle back there for position number 5. And it might, the contact back there as well. So keep your half eye on that. There might be some bent feelings going into the feature.
Nothing wrong with a little bent feelings on a short track. We've seen that already throughout this RBR Maritime iRacing Series season. Some flaring tempers a couple weeks ago at Oxford Plains Speedway. We'll have to keep that in mind later on for the feature event. Just a few more laps remaining here. You're checking out the battle for position number 2 between Matthew Barkhouse and Kyle Gammon. Gammon was able to challenge there on the opening circuits of this heat race, but has not been able to get back underneath of the 15 of Matthew Barkhouse. He'll exit turn 2 a little bit higher. I think that was a bit of a detriment to him there. He lost a little more ground going down the back straightaway, but still holding pretty tough in position number 3. 2 laps remain here. Mike Alexander continues to lead.
Yeah, watching those two, it looks like that 98 car can get a little bit more into the corner, sail it into the corner. The 15 of Barkhouse able to get a little more grip off as you ride on board with the Sheriff. Kyle Gammon gets close to that wall down there in turn number 3. They'll come up this time and see the white flag final lap in heat race number 2, and the 2 Alexander Motorsports cars just kind of pulling away from the Sheriff here.
Indeed they are. Down the back straightaway they go for the final time. The 75 of Mike Alexander has led from the pole, and he is going to take the checkered flag. Heat race number 2 goes to Mike Alexander. He'll win it over brother Matthew Barkhouse in position number 2. Kyle Gammon will finish in 3rd with Travis Roma in 4th, and Conrad Murphy completing your top 5. Roger Down in car number 21, he finishes in position number 6. Mark Williams is 7th, and completing the field in the 17 is Brad Hayes. 2 heat races down, 1 more to go before we are all set and ready for tonight's Vino's Auto 125 here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Once again, we've got a 10-lap heat race coming up. Looks like we will once again run with 8 cars, and we will line them up this way. Your pole sitter in car number 83, that is Chris Roma, and on the outside of Roma, starting second in the Bud Light number 30 ride, that is Keith McClellan. Season opening winner at the Southern National Motorsports Park in the 34 car of Mike Rhino. He will start in position number 3. And your 4th place starter in the 67 machine is Wade Cresswell. Taylor Layton's number 27 car will line up in position number 5. And starting in 6th is the number 5 machine of Craig Tully. Final row down on the bottom, starting in position number 7, is the 19 of Derek Gates. And completing your field here in position number 8 is the 11 of Caleb Urquhart.
Yeah, beautiful field as the pace car rolls off. The field in behind as Chris Roma will take that beautiful looking throwback scheme from the pole position. We'll see what he can do, but going to be strong with that 34 on his back bumper. Keith McClellan on the outside. This is a stacked little heat race.
It really is. We've got some strong contenders. Chris Roma has been on a bit of a hot streak over the last couple weeks. He has finished in the third position the last 2 weeks in a row. He comes into tonight fourth place in the points, just 10 points out of the championship, so he is still well within reach of contending for this championship over these next 2 weeks. Of course, looking to increase that momentum that he has been building and further his performance up the podium, potentially to get himself a feature win here tonight and really insert his name into the championship mix. Keith McClellan, always a strong competitor, and Mike Rhino, as mentioned, the winner of our opener at Southern National Motorsports Park, should be a very good heat race to close us out and bring us into the feature.
And pace cars off. It's Chris Roma and Keith McClellan going to lead this field to green off corner number 4. Green flag is out, and we are underway for 10 laps of competition. Top 2, kind of a little bit of a slow start down into corner number 1. Kyle, the 83, going to get that advantage with the 34 of Mike Rhino, going to fill that hole.
Roma will jump out to the race lead. Keith McClellan fights off Mike Rhino on the top side, drops down to the bottom, but he's going to open that bottom lane up. Rhino decides not to take it. He stays in line behind the Rev Racing Bud Light number 30 machine. Your top 3 are single file, and now we got some position swapping going on behind. I think Wade Crasswell made a mistake. Hang on, Craig Tully, he's sideways, 3 wide. Ooh, nearly made contact with the 19 of Derek Gates. Everybody figures it out, and we stay green coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, the only one that can't get by is Caleb Urquhart in that exchange. Urquhart will still be in that last place position. Position number 8 is the 19, now goes to the outside. Derek Gates trying to hold off Craig Tully. Tully trying to make that spot up, and he will do so. So move the 5 car back up one more spot to position number 6, and Caleb Urquhart gets into the back of the 19 car in the back of the field. They're not going to keep it straight. That's going to cause a caution.
Thought for a moment there, Tim, that Urquhart was going to help the 19 of Gates straighten that thing back out, but just couldn't quite hang on, and he takes a trip to the outside wall, brings out the first caution here in heat race number 3. Hard racing there at the back of the pack. I guess if you're going to race hard for something that doesn't really have too much an effect on your feature, you might as well do it now when there's no threat on the line to lose out and you're going to have a fresh car. So we'll send things on over to Paul and take us another look at that one.
Snack time again. Another kick-ass beef jerky instant replay here on the ATV. Focus in the number 11 car. You can see he gets in there pretty hot. You can see he definitely wanted to try and make up some ground there, but unfortunately that car pushed up, got in the back corner on the number 19 and sent him on up into the wall. You can tell, like you guys said, he kind of tried to flapjack the side of the door there to maybe straighten him out just a little bit, at least get his wheels pointed in the right direction, but unfortunately to no avail. Sends the 19 up into the outside wall. But like you guys both alluded to, this is pretty much just an extended happy hour, a little bit of a practice session. All these drivers are going to make the feature here for the VEINOTTE'S Truck and Auto 125 here in Myrtle Beach. So a little bit of basically test your car out, see what it's going to do in a short run as we've got, looks like we're going to restart with 3, maybe 4 laps to go here, Kyle.
Yeah, that we will. Should be a short little dash to the finish here before we get things all completed before our feature event. Pretty good start amongst the front competitors and some good racing there in the middle of the field before we had that caution flag. Tim, I've been seeing off of the very little action we've had thus far throughout these heat races that top side does already seem to be a bit of an option. We saw Riley Duncan jump off to a great start to take over the race lead in the first heat, which could have just been a good reaction time. But right there, off of the start in this heat race, Keith McClellan had a side-by-side battle with Mike Rhino, and he used the top side of turn 2 to keep that position going down the backstretch into turn 3.
Yeah, both of them were a little, I don't want to say slow to the draw, but a little bit slower to the draw than Riley Duncan was on Brett Suggs in that first heat race. Let's see if Paul can get the camera back on the 11 for a moment, because I'm going to tell a story here. Caleb messaged me earlier tonight, and he said, I'm going to race tonight, whatever else, and I told him that, I'm going to be a part of the broadcast. Now, Caleb Urquhart had told me that his girlfriend had come over just before the race. He said he wasn't going to race tonight because his girlfriend was over. Do you think he was distracted, maybe going into that corner on the inside of the 19?
He very well may have been. He took a very strange line. It looked like he was going to run right around down the bottom like most drivers have, but he just seemed to miss it after the initial braking point and kind of shoved up the racetrack, and unfortunately the 19 of Gates was there. As mentioned, though, this is just the heat race, not really too much on the line for these guys in this race, so hopefully Caleb was able to figure out what went wrong there and will be able to learn and prevent that from happening in the feature event. But it does look like that we are double up here. This is actually going to be a green and white checker here, Tim. So we're going to extend this one into a little bit of overtime and see how we wrap this one up with just 2 laps to go.
Yeah, see if we can get this one finished. There is up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish under the time limit, so we'll see if we can get to the white flag on this one. It's Roma and McClellan side by side. They'll come up at a corner number 4. Slower to the draw. There's Roma on the hammer. Green flag flies. That was a good start for the 83.
Very good start for Chris Roma. Jumps out to the race lead, and that allows Mike Rhino to take away position number 2 from Keith McClellan. He wasn't able to do it on the initial start, but he's able to do it here on this restart. So the 34 goes to second. McClellan back to third. Chris Roma will lead them all to the white flag one more time around.
Yeah, they're going to get to the white flag. Battle's going to be for position number 2. Mike Rhino, a little slide down into corner number 1. It allows Keith McClellan to get there, but not enough to make that move. Working through 3 and 4 for the final time in heat race number 3. Checkered are going to come up for Chris Roma. It's going to be Mike Rhino and Keith McClellan, your top 3. Craswell, Tully, Urquhart, Leighton, Gates complete your field in heat race number 3. And now a brief little breath, catch your breath after those heat races and get ready for some feature action.
That we will. Our field is set for tonight's Vino's Auto 125. Once again, race number 5 out of 6 for this series. We will crown a champion next week. And taking a look at the point standings before we get things going in tonight's feature event, we actually have a tie at the top of the standings between Brett Suggs and Mike Alexander. The two of them are leading with a 133 point total after the first 4 races. And get this, Tim, we've talked about it last week, how insanely consistent and very successful that both of these drivers have been. Mike Alexander winning the last 2 races. Brett Suggs has a win from week 2 at Nashville. But looking at Brett Suggs' results, okay, we have a drop week that will be determined tonight. So outside of Suggs' 1 win at Nashville, he's finished second the remaining 3 races. How in the world do you try to come into this race and try to beat a second place finish for your current drop week?
Yeah, that kind of helps you a little bit on that long run. Even if he has a bad run tonight outside of the top 2, that second place comes back into play. When you look at a drop, Mike Alexander's drop is a 4th. Mike Rhino, his drop's a 5th, but it's not. When you look at the results compared to Mike Alexander and compared to Brett Suggs, Mike Rhino has a little bit of work to do, which can all be made up at North Wilkesboro next week. But we'll see where all these drops shake out a little bit further on down the line. But these guys getting ready, final couple of laps being made as we get ready to go racing for 125 laps with those 2 drivers that we talked about being on top of the standings, qualifying 1-2 here tonight. I guess Kyle doesn't have the cough button pressed, but we'll get that all straightened away. If you're watching us, welcome in to the Vino's Truck and Auto 125 on Vidane TV. If you haven't gone over to the Vidane TV Facebook page yet, be sure to hit that with a like. Follow us on Twitch as well. YouTube is popular. All these social medias, Paul. Where else can they follow Vidane TV?
Yeah, we're all over the place, Tim. Vidane TV on Facebook, Vidane TV on YouTube, like you said, Twitch, Vidane Racing TV over there. And we finally, the NEPS guys, the New England, Pennsylvania iRacing Series group that runs with us, they finally talked me into jumping back on Twitter. I had to get the password from an old Steve Lavender email, but we finally got back in, so check us out on Twitter as well, at Vidane TV, or however the handles are handled over there. Vidane TV over there on Twitter.
And we're also interactive as well. So if you're watching us tonight on any of our channels, I've got a couple of Facebook feeds up. Drop us a comment. Let us know who you're cheering for, where you're tuned in from, and who you might see win this championship. Give us your thoughts, whether it's going to be a Brett Suggs, a Mike Alexander, a Mike Rhino, or somebody else. As it looks like the warm-up has wrapped up, and Kyle, we're getting ready to go green.
That we are. Your drivers taking the grid here for tonight's Vino's Auto 125. And speaking of Vino's Auto, it's also worth mentioning that the Vino's Pole Award Challenge up once again. That is the $15 challenge for one of our front runners to go to the back of the field and try to charge their way back forward. Brett Suggs has the first option of that since he is the pole sitter tonight. Checking through the server chat, it does not look like he has decided to do that. Mike Alexander was offered. Mike Alexander going to keep his second place starting position. Looking through here, I see Mike Rhino has an EOL. So does Mike Rhino, is he going to be the recipient of the Vino's Pole Award Challenge? That means that the top 5 drivers all decided to keep their positions. They don't want to go to the back tonight, Tim.
Well, if I'm Brett Suggs and Mike Alexander and I'm racing for a championship, money is great, but I really don't blame them to keep their starting position, especially at a racetrack like Myrtle Beach. We'll see where Mike Rhino can get as the field begins to roll off. The starting grid rolling on the bottom of your screen as we'll have a pace lap, and then we'll get ready to go at it for 125 laps.
And how fitting is it? Race number 5 out of a 6-race series. We're currently tied for the points lead with Brett Suggs and Mike Alexander, and they start on the front row tonight. That is going to be very fun to watch here on these opening laps. Chris Roma starting off in position number 3. As mentioned, he's coming off of back-to-back third-place finishes, looking to continue that momentum into this race tonight. Riley Duncan rolling off in 4th. Matthew Barkhouse, position number 5. Starting in 6th now will be the 98, Kyle Gammon, with Mike Rhino taking the Pole Award Challenge. Ashton Tucker and Jake Goodwin will make up row number 4. And then you have Keith McClellan and Wade Cresswell, who will complete your top 10 starters. So the lights are off on top of the iRacing.com Ford Mustang pace car. The Vino's Auto 125 here at Myrtle Beach Speedway, getting ready to go green flag racing. Your points leaders are on the front row. Brett Suggs on the bottom, Mike Alexander on the top, a full field of cars behind them, ready to attack. They roll off a turn 4. Flagger throws the green flag into the air, and the Vino's Auto 125 is underway. The field rolls down into turn number 1. Brett Suggs with the early advantage. Will he clear Mike Alexander in turn 2? He will not. Both cars wiggle. Suggs wiggled a little bit more, and they're even going into turn 3.
Side by side for that lead position. The 75 of Alexander trying to roll the top, but the caution flag will come out, and it's Riley Duncan in the 97 around out of corner number 4 in front of about half the field. Chris Roma's tore up on this one, but considering it was in front of 3/4 of the field, I think we got away fairly clean.
Yeah, Duncan and Roma got the worst of that when Mike Alexander had to make a big evasive maneuver to get around it. They both came back down to the bottom, and Chris Roma collecting his brother Travis involved in that as well. Many cars going around it. Mark Williams got caught up just a little bit in that one, but as you mentioned, Tim, could have been a lot worse there. Paul, how did that one look on your end?
Pulling up the old Kick-Ass Beef Jerky instant replay right now, and we're just going to take a quick look through the eyes of the blimp cam, as it were, and see if we can see exactly what went down there. This is about mid-pack here. Mark Williams, 42 car, 11:21. Just trying to see exactly where the calamity started, and you can see it was pretty much right after the start. We get a good view of the entire middle of the field here from, well, pretty much the entire field, so we'll be able to see exactly what went down. And you see, good start, good clean start. Everybody's kind of side by side, and you can see it's up a little bit further up in the field than where we were looking. So 83 car Chris Roma, you can see it looks like he was one of the first cars to spin around. We'll back that up just a little bit because we can do that here on live TV. Why not? It's my show. So we'll take a look. You can see Riley Duncan up top, that pink and black number 97 car. he's going to get a little bit of a shot there from the number 83. It sends him on around, and unfortunately, there's really nowhere to go. Both of the racing crews on this track are kind of blocked up, but luckily these guys were able to really get on the brakes and slow these cars down. So there weren't any real big hits. The biggest hit looks like it may very well have been that number 83 car of Chris Roma, and you can take a look at the damage there. So no resets with these guys, the RBR Maritime League, but they do have the opportunity to come down pit road and kind of bang on some of the virtual sheet metal there to get some of the dents out, Kyle.
Yeah, not at all the way that any of these guys wanted to get their race started. Long way to go, and you're going to have to dig yourself out of a hole right off of the bat. Both Roma and Duncan going to the back of the field. They've got some crinkled up fenders and some dented sheet metal across their race machines, but if there is any silver lining here, Tim, it is still very early. They're still on the racetrack. They're still rolling. They should still be okay to compete. Long way to go. They do have time to recover from this.
Yeah, absolutely. They do 125 laps to run tonight, and 120 of those still to come. Pace car lights are off, and we'll get ready to go back to racing. New second row with the Sheriff, Kyle Gammon, on the inside. Ashton Tucker and the Brad Siliker Motorsports look-alike, number 2 on the outside, as Alexander gets ready to see the green.
Mike Alexander will restart as the control car this time, so he's on the bottom. Suggs is up top, and Alexander schools Suggs. Suggs is able to get down onto the bottom right off of the bat here. We go back to green flag racing. Kyle Gammon third. We're still side by side for fourth with Matthew Barkhouse and Ashton Tucker. That has now subsided as Barkhouse takes over the position, and very quickly we single file our way out going into turn 3.
Yeah, these drivers up in front trying to find a place to race. The first side-by-side battle's about 10th or 12th, so they know it's a long race. They have to find a place in the line. Keith McClellan to the inside of the 24 of Jake Goodwin. That's the battle for position number 6 as they race down the back straightaway. Goodwin holding on. You can get that run at a turn number 2, Kyle. We saw it a couple of times in those heat races. You can get that run. Oh, we got one around and into the fence. That will probably draw a caution, and they continue to race under the green. There is the yellow flag. A hard hit over there in turn number 4. Didn't catch you. It might have been the 70 of Brandon Lively.
Indeed it was, Tim. The 70 of Brandon Lively and the 89 of Conrad Murphy coming together, and both of them making, well, actually, no, just Brandon Lively, it looks like, made significant contact with the outside wall. Craig Tully also got a piece of the 89 of Murphy. Murphy got kind of ricocheted back down into the track after Lively hit the outside wall. All cars were able to continue on, but lots of damage on the front end of those machines, Paul.
One more kick-ass beef jerky instant replay. We're going to focus in on, as you made mention, the number 70 car and the number 89. Looks like a little bit of a shot there from the 89. 70 tries to gather it back up and overcorrects, sends it on out to the inside wall. Craig Tully there, you see the number 5 car gets a big piece of that number 89 black and yellow machine. So tough break for Tully, Murphy, and Lively. A lot of damage on the 3 of those race cars, so you got to figure those guys will probably be running in the back of the pack for the rest of the race, and it's going to be kind of, looks like it may very well be a war of attrition here tonight.
Very well could be. We've seen some of these patches of cautions in the past. Could just be a little over anxious, a little too much excitement amongst these guys to get going here on the early stages, but of course mistakes allow for opportunities to learn and grow and fix those, so hopefully we can get some green flag racing in here. I really do think that we have a racetrack that's set up for some good stuff here, Tim. As we just saw there with that battle with Jake Goodwin and Keith McClellan, that top side's got something to work with tonight. This is not just going to be a typical short track race where everybody plays ring around the rosy around the bottom and you got to root and gouge your way around. Of course, that's fun for us watching. It's awesome to see people lean into each other and do a little beating and banging, but there's a different element of excitement when you got a couple lanes to work with and some options other than just the front bumper.
Yeah, and when you look at this, the setup, the way the tires are, you have one set of tires in the pit, so if we do get a green flag run of about 50, 60, 70 laps, you might see these guys come down into pit road and kind of play that tire game. You might see some guys stay out, but if we continue to have these cautions back to back to back, it's going to be a little more difficult to see that come out to fruition. While we are under the caution flag, I want to talk about tire strategy. I want to say congratulations to a guy that Paul and I know fairly well, Nick Ottinger. Took away 100K last night in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And Paul, I'll bring you in on this because we've known Nick for a while. Did it on tire strategy. Brandon Hastings brought Michael Conti and brought Nick Ottinger down. with a caution with about, I think it was 15 laps to go, and said, this is our bed, we're going to lay in it, and Nick ended up laying in it for $100,000.
Yeah, and you can see all the replays of the race pretty much everywhere on Facebook. It's cool to see that sim racing has really played a big part in racing, especially this year with 2020. But very cool to see Nick at the championship, man. I've known Nick a long time. He's raced at Vinein a couple of times. He even ran Xlander Colors way back in the day. So really, really cool to see, and I'm glad couldn't have gone to a better guy. Tire strategy was one thing, but he was also able to drive his way back to the front of the pack last night towards the end of that race. So very, very cool, and congratulations to Nick.
As we get ready to go back to green, Kyle, we'll see if the 75 car can pull something out of his back pocket and maybe pull out a little bit. I know there's some money on the line for the champion too, so maybe he can get some of that green.
You're absolutely right. The green goes back into the air as well. Another fantastic restart there by Mike Alexander. Suggs will fall in line, still side by side for that third position. Kyle Gammon on the bottom, Matthew Barkhouse on the top. The two make a little contact. They get out of shape, but they're able to recover, and they'll stay single file going into turn 3. Right behind them, though, Ashton Tucker and Jake Goodwin are side by side for position number 5. Tucker will have it at the line, and now here comes Keith McClellan entering the mix.
Keith McClellan trying to pick up one more spot as the top 5, top 6 or so get single file, and now that battle gets single file back there as well as the two of Ashton Tucker holding off Keith McClellan. You got Jake Goodwin and Travis Roma. Roma has damage from that first wreck over there in turn number 3, a little bit of nose damage, so we'll see if that affects him at all. You can see it there a little bit on that riser number 38, but not really affecting the speed right now. Still a top 10 race car.
No, not at all. Travis Roma hanging tough there. He was caught up in that first incident there off of turn number 4 on the first lap. Just behind him, we've got some great racing going on for position. Wade Craswell just taking over positions. Mark Williams and Caleb Urquhart are side by side going down the back straightaway here. Urquhart has the advantage on the top side, but Williams will drive it in there on the bottom. Urquhart pushing way up towards the outside wall, and that is going to give up that position to Williams in 42. He drops down right behind, and look at that gaggle of cars right behind them.
You know, we talked about drivers with damage on their race cars early. You see the 11 of Caleb Urquhart has a little bit of front-end damage to his race car. Craig Tully had a little bit of damage early as well, as most recent as that last caution. You can see the right front damage to that number 5 as he goes side by side, battling for that position. You've got some good drivers back here. Mike Rhino took that pole challenge, 3 wide through the middle, trying to pick up one. Tanton Woolridge on the outside. It gets tight at a turn 2, but the 34 of Rhino rolling the outside. Brad Hayes to the inside as they go side by side. Caleb Urquhart, he's on his way to the beach.
Mike Rhino taking no prisoners, getting right up in the mix of this pack and taking these positions away, still working that top side around the outside of Brad Hayes. He has the advantage going into turn 3, but just can't quite clear yet. Caleb Urquhart way up to the outside wall. That number 11 machine is struggling, and right now the 34 able to clear the 17, drops down to the bottom of the track, and is looking to try to take over position number 11 from the 5 of Craig Tully.
Yeah, it's a great battle back here. I still think Caleb Urquhart's a little bit distracted, but I digress. The 34 of Rhino trying to get to that inside of the 5 of Craig Tully. Up in front, status quo. Mike Alexander continues to lead, and this is one of the best battles on the racetrack. The next best battle, I think, on this racetrack might be your battle for position number 5, because Keith McClellan in the 30, all over the back bumper, the 2 of Ashton Tucker. There it is on your screen as they come out of corner number 4. Keith has been trying to set up the BSM number 2 for the last couple of laps. The 30 goes to the inside. We're side by side now for that position.
Keith has been looking very good so far here tonight, challenging for a top 5 position. He's been a strong contender for top 5 positions throughout the season thus far, but just hasn't quite had enough yet to challenge for a race win. We'll see if that changes here tonight, but so far a spirited battle going on with Ashton Tucker. You're now riding on board of Keith McClellan inside the number 30 machine. Can't really see how close this battle is. Oh yeah, you can see the little fender there on the outside, but just great stuff here. So much room to work with for these drivers on this racetrack, and it's showing right here. Now McClellan able to finally clear it and takes over that spot.
Ashton gave him plenty of room. He also knows that this is a long race, 100 laps remaining in this Vinos Truck and Auto 125, but you can see the gap back. There's your leader on your screen, Mike Alexander. He's gapped the 98, or the 33, check that, of Brett Suggs. It's the 98 of Kyle Gammon in behind him, and then the 15 of Matt Barkhouse in position number 3. Great little battle for that second place position, but that's about all it is right now as Barkhouse sails it on in on the Sheriff, trying to pick up position number 3, but can't do so. They still remain in line.
It's about 2/3 of a second behind race leader Mike Alexander where this is all going on. Nobody peeking out and making any moves just yet. They're all staying pretty much well tucked up underneath the blanket that they're under. Maybe a little bit of a shot right there. I couldn't tell if there was a bumper shot from the 98 to the 33 or maybe Suggs just got into one of those little curbs down on the bottom of the racetrack there. But great stuff here. Lots of action early on. I think we may have a little bit of, oh yeah, Caleb Burkhart in trouble here in front of the leaders. He's pointed the right way. They all ducked down to the bottom and got around him there on the back straightaway. But we stay agreed as Burkhart stays in the right direction.
You know what? He might have the girlfriend driving that race car. We saw the better half dash a couple of weeks ago for the Neps guys, so maybe that's the strategy that Caleb Burkhart is taking. But nonetheless, up in front, Mike Alexander continues to lead. There's that 15, poking that nose to the inside. The speedy Bedford number 98 to the outside. Kyle Gavin gave him plenty of room. We saw that a little bit earlier with the Ashton Tucker Keith McClellan battle. Gave him a little bit of room, but maybe now is not the time he wants to make the move. The 15 going to stick him behind the 98.
We saw it last week at Langley, Tim. I know that you weren't with us, but in comparison to the race 2 weeks ago at Oxford Plains Speedway, once you get into these green flag runs, it really changes the mindset of these guys with that tire strategy. As we mentioned, there is a set of tires in the pits, so once you start to get into a rhythm and get some green flag laps in, it starts to go through your head. All right, when am I going to come down and get those tires? What's going to happen if the caution flag comes out? Do I wait a little bit later on into the race? Do I get beyond that second, or get beyond the halfway mark before I think about the tires? You want to be competitive, you want to race for position and do the best that you can right now, but you want to be careful with those tires too, because depending on what your strategy is, you may not want to burn them up right now.
Yeah, I don't think you do, especially with this race looking green. We started with 24 cars, I believe, on this racetrack, and we still have all 24 cars running around this Myrtle Beach Speedway as you ride on board with Matthew Barkhouse sitting in position number 4. The 75 was able on the shorter run, per se, to get out to that lead, but I think he might be micromanaging that lead right now, not using up any of his stuff, as you said a little bit earlier, Kyle, and keeping those guys behind or just enough in behind. Brett Suggs just a little bit out in front of that 98 to keep him out of harm's way, and then the 15 of Matthew Barkhouse keeping that 98 honest for position number 3 as you see Brett Suggs working in front of the Sheriff.
Yeah, for a number of laps now, this lead has been about 6 to 7 tenths big, not really changing too dramatically lap by lap. So Alexander has the advantage over the field, but not really stomping them into the ground like we've seen over the last couple weeks. And it's great to see Kyle Gaiman with some success this week. Last week, I believe he was the recipient of our Vino's Pole Award Challenge. Started in the back, had to work his way back through, had some adversity that he dealt with late in the race, actually ended up getting upside down and really ruined his finish. So he's trying to recover from that here tonight and work on a solid finish. Currently in position number 3. He's been in the top 5 the entire way through and looks very strong right now.
Yeah, you talk about that Vino's Truck and Auto Pole Challenge recipient, or at least for this week, Mike Rhino up to position number 8, and really hasn't been able to make a whole lot of inroads right now because the field's kind of spread out a little bit. You see the 11 of Caleb Burkhart getting a lap from Ashton Tucker in the 2. Tucker's kind of been falling back a little bit, was up in the top 5, started in position number 7. He's currently there right now, but losing a little bit of time on this run to the guys in front of him, and Mike Rhino getting a little bit bigger in the rear view mirror of that Big Cam Fabrication White Lightning Auto Center number 2.
Rhino's been doing a great job continuing to work his way through the field. Up in position number 8 right now. He apparently has been a little bit aggressive since we last checked in with him. As you can see the damage on the front end of that number 34 machine, but keeping it clean at the moment, working up into the top 10, trying to close down on that 7th place car. Ashton Tucker in front of him, plenty of space out the back end to Wade Cresswell, so he can afford to focus on that 2 machine. Doesn't have to worry about really being threatened at the moment. Just a couple cars behind them here, Tim. I'm seeing Wade Cresswell and Mark Williams. How about Mark Williams? He was caught up in that first incident there on lap number 1, has recovered to put himself inside the top 10 right now, right on the, well, just a few car lengths back on Wade Cresswell here for position number 9. So a nice recovery after some early troubles there for Mark Williams.
And you know what? Looking around this field right now, there's not really a whole lot of big major packs, at least in the top 10 or so. You look back to around 15th, 16th place, you start to see some drivers get a little bit racy around Chris Roma, who's making a move on Riley Duncan. Duncan looks to the inside. There's the 00 on your screen of Woolridge, and right there is a 42 is slow down the front straightaway, so maybe some problems for Mark Williams, but this, Caleb Urquhart's in the wall as well. This is about where these drivers are trying to feel out the race cars as the 83 still sideways there. Some of these drivers have had some tough luck tonight, just trying to, for the most part, maybe stay out of their own way.
Yeah, I was watching that as you were calling it through there, Tim. The 42 of Mark Williams, he got a bit of a shot there from Caleb Urquhart in the back bumper, got him sideways. I thought he was going to go around, and I just commentator cursed him again, but fortunately he was able to recover. Did lose a position there to Jake Goodwin, but he's right back on the back bumper of Goodwin. Goodwin, a very strange lower line there coming off of turn number 4, but it appears to work for him as he continues to hold that gap. But now Mark Williams losing touch with Wade Creswell. Now he's in the middle of a whole swarm of cars for a position. There's probably about 5 or 6 cars in a line here in this little group.
Yeah, you're just going to pick your way through, and some of these drivers are probably, trying to conserve their tires a little bit and set up for that other tire set that is in the pits, but we'll see how this all shakes out. The 24 of Goodwin, the 42 of Williams battling it out for a top 10 position. That's for position number 10 as Williams throws it in that Johnny Clark lookalike number 42, but can't get the job done in turn number 3.
Jake Goodwin sure is seeing a lot of the nose of that 42 machine. Williams seems to be getting great runs on the entry to the turns, but I think the exits are where Goodwin has just the slight advantage over Mark right now. You can see how much, he closes up big time, gives a nice little shot in the back bumper to Goodwin in the center of 3 and 4. So yeah, I would say Mark Williams is doing a pretty good job on corner entry. Goodwin opening up the bottom just a little bit there in turn number 1, but slams that door back shut. Now you're right on board Mark Williams as they go down the back.
Down into corner number 3. Almost missed the corner there a little bit by the looks of it as he goes up into that second groove. Goodwin will pick up a couple of car lengths. Up in front, Alexander continues to lead, but Kyle, they came up on some lap traffic. The battle's kind of accordion back together. Brett Suggs and Kyle Gammon have closed back in a little bit on the 75 through all that lap traffic, and you can see it in behind the 19 car of Derek Gates went 1 lap down. Brandon Lively went 1 lap down, and it kind of closed in these drivers, but through that traffic, now the 75 has pulled away a little bit from the 33 of Suggs and the 98 of Gammon.
Yeah, this is starting to slowly become a 3-car group for the race lead. Matthew Barkhouse has lost touch just a little bit, and we're starting to see second and third close in ever so slightly on Mike Alexander. So it makes you wonder, is Mike burning up his stuff a little bit too much? Are just Suggs and Gammon starting to conserve a little bit better than what Alexander is doing? More lap traffic coming up into play here in this next lap. The 29 of Daniel Vitch, the next victim, the 5 of Craig Tully, and then the 27 of Taylor Layton. All of these guys running around the bottom of the racetrack, as are the race leaders. And now they're about to go side by side as Vitch and Tully are going to battle for that position that they are currently running in. That would be position number 18. So now you got to be a little bit more patient if you're the race leader, Mike Alexander. And that could close Suggs and Gammon right up on him.
Yeah, it's going to be lap traffic management here for the R&R Kinsman Auto Salvage number 75 as he's got Tully and Vitch ahead of him as they come out of corner number 4, the 29 to the inside, the 5 to the outside, and the 75 trying to pick a lane, and the 33 of Brett Suggs trying to figure out where they go. They get single file. It allows the 75 to go to the inside. It allows the 33 of Brett Suggs to get there as well, and Kyle Gammon will follow suit.
Top 3 are now bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper as they come off of turn number 4. Lap number 54 goes into the books, so we are less than 10 laps away from the halfway mark in tonight's VEINOTTE'S Auto 125. Mike Alexander has led the majority of the laps from the outside pole. He took the race lead away on the first lap from pole sitter Brett Suggs. Suggs has stayed in position number 2 ever since, but now as we get this green flag run to continue to progress, Suggs and Kyle Gammon are reeling in on Mike Alexander. It could potentially challenge him for this race lead as we get closer to the halfway point. 3-car group here amongst the top, about a second and a half back is Matthew Barkhouse in 4th, and Keith McClellan in the number 30 machine, almost 3 seconds behind him in 5th.
Yeah, there's that 4th place car on your screen. That's Matthew Barkhouse, and a little ways back, as you mentioned, to Keith McClellan, about 2 seconds or so back to position number 5. So your top 3, really your battle within the top 10. You look back through that top 10, Ashton Tucker's trying to hold on in front of Wade Creswell. That's the battle for 8th. Behind them, Jake Goodwin and the 42 of Mark Williams. We talked about that battle about 10 laps ago. That one's still hot for position number 10, and they got a friend in Chris Roma right in behind. So there's still a couple of battles here throughout, and then these guys better get to step in as well. They're about 5 seconds or so ahead of the leaders.
The green flag laps allowing the field to space out, lap traffic becoming a factor. And oh boy, we got a little bumper, well, a little door bang in there through turn number 2 with Mark Williams and Jake Goodwin. Look at Chris Roma driving in deep underneath the 24. He saw the open door. He wanted to jump through, but just could not make it work. Mark Williams puts himself back inside the top 10, and now Jake Goodwin back to 11th. Chris Roma right there on the back bumper trying to take the position away. Riley Duncan not too far off from these guys, still trying to reel them down, but some great stuff here happening just outside the top 10.
Yeah, it's a great battle for position. The 83, the 24 gets into the wall. Jake Goodwin scrapes the wall into turn number 4. Going to allow Riley Duncan to go to the inside. Brad Hayes going to work the inside as well. The freight train is coming through on the Napa number 24, and Jake Goodwin falling a few positions outside the top 10.
A long train of cars now line up the bottom of the racetrack. Goodwin on the top side, so this could be a bit detrimental to his race if he's not able to find a hole. 17 Brad Hayes gets on by. Tanton Woolridge and the double zeros looking. Oh, body check there by Brad Hayes to the 24. Jake Goodwin. Hayes gets on by. Woolridge gets on by, as well as Roger Down. So that entire group of cars gets around Jake Goodwin after some contact was made between him and Brad Hayes. But we stay green. Everybody's still pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, it seems like there's an outside line there if you can run it, but it's a really fine line in between being able to hold the position on the outside and trying to not lose 3 or 4 positions and make that one critical mistake that Jake Goodwin just made to lose a few positions. Back up in front, the 75 of Mike Alexander continues to lead, but he has company. Here comes Brett Suggs in the back bumper. The 98 of Kyle Gammon is there, and not too far in behind. They've cleared the traffic. Matthew Barkhouse closing back in. Suggs takes a look.
Brett Suggs is there. Brett Suggs wants the race lead away from Mike Alexander. He has to know that he's tied with Alexander for the points lead. He knows that he is currently trying to erase a second place finish as a drop week. So really, if he doesn't win this race tonight, Tim, he's not going to gain any points. So with Mike Alexander out in front of it, you would have to imagine that if they finish 1-2, it would be Alexander to pull a slight advantage over Brett Suggs in the point standings heading into next week's finale at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. So this is a very important position. Suggs not only wants the win, but he wants the advantage in the points going into that finale.
Absolutely. Any position that you can get is key. As Jake Goodwin about to fall a lap down here, and you look at this battle that they're about to come up on, Kyle. This is the battle all the way up to position number 12, up to Riley Duncan, Tanton Woolridge. The battle we just saw about 5 laps ago, the leaders are coming up on, and you know these guys aren't giving each other an inch. So if you're Brett Suggs, this might be the time to kind of pick your poison and try to figure out how to get by Mike Alexander.
I would agree there. It seems that Suggs has done a bit of a better job throughout this run with tire management. He hasn't left the back bumper of Mike Alexander ever since he got to it. Jake Goodwin will go to the outside, let these guys race on by down low, but it's just so hard to try to find an edge up underneath. Mike Alexander is doing a great job of protecting the bottom right now, and at least in my opinion, Tim, I think it's just a little bit too early to start thinking about booting the race leader and your championship rival out of the way for that spot.
It might be a little bit too early, but if you can kind of finesse that bumper and try to get him around this lap traffic, that might be the best way to do it. You got some good cars coming up here. You got Brad Hayes, you got the 21 of Roger Down. If you can get by these guys and, you know, maybe force a mistake out of Mike Alexander, maybe not move him out of the way, but give him enough pressure to maybe he somehow cracks and you can get to the inside of the 75 and make it work, and then maybe you have that advantage up on the 75 car. But Brett Suggs sticking to his back bumper, the 98 of Kyle Gammon, a little bit of a problem. Kind of caught Brad Hayes at the wrong time. They're going to lose a car length when he stopped too.
Yeah, Kyle Gammon was able to reel these guys back in through the traffic and now loses just a little bit of time there going around in the 17 of Brad Hayes. Roger Down respecting the battle amongst the top 3, giving them plenty of space to work with down low. Alexander and Suggs will get to him first. Kyle Gammon will take care of him here in the center of turns 1 and 2. Looks like Brad Hayes might try to use that as an advantage to contend for that position, but not able to do so just yet. Top 3 able to get by without any issues. Now Brett Suggs starting to look to the outside just a little bit. Tim, I watched that NASCAR Cup Series race a couple days ago at Martinsville Speedway, and Chase Elliott was doing the same thing. He kind of washed up to the center, up into the middle groove of the track through the center of the turn, then cut back down coming off, and I think that may have just allowed Brett Suggs to get underneath of Mike Alexander.
Yeah, there goes Suggs to the inside, trying to make that move on the 75 of Alexander side by side. Now we'll really see if there's a high side here. We saw it with Jake Goodwin, was able to hold it for 2 or 3 laps, then kind of fell back a little bit. So if you don't want to burn your stuff up, you might want to tuck in behind, but the 75 is making it work for the most part, keeping Suggs pinned down just enough. There's a great shot from the 98 of Kyle Gammon. You can see that the 75 is giving him enough room to operate on the inside, but Brett Suggs, if he does make a mistake, he rushes up into the 75, and now the bumper of the Maminal number 98 to the inside, trying to get there on Mike Alexander. You have to capitalize if you can.
That's exactly what Kyle Gammon is doing. Mike Alexander trying to do his best to manage that outside line, but Suggs is just inching away lap by lap. Will he clear coming off of turn 2? He does. So Brett Suggs completes the pass on Mike Alexander for position number 2. Kyle Gammon not able to continue that battle for the second spot. Alexander able to get down and holds off the number 98 machine. Heavy lap traffic coming up for these guys here, Tim. Tanton Woolridge, Riley Duncan, and Conrad Murphy, the next 3 to be in the leaders' clutches. And then we got Mark Williams and Chris Roma. 5 cars, 5 very good cars. Oh, hang on, we got some contact in front. Tanton Woolridge and Riley Duncan made some contact, and I think Duncan got a piece of that outside wall. They were able to avoid catastrophe there, and now here come the leaders to look underneath the 97.
Yeah, if you're the 97 and Riley Duncan, you can't be concerned with getting back to the 00 at least yet. You've got to make sure that these leaders get by, and then you can battle with that 00. You got to give a little respect to these drivers that are running up front, and so far so good for that number 97. To the outside he goes. Brett Suggs works to the inside. I think the biggest part of this battle for that lead position for at least Mike Alexander was Kyle Gammon didn't get to the inside. We've seen that outside line not work for multiple laps in a row. It hasn't rubbered up to the outside, and now it's a battle for position number 2 with that lap car. They caught the lap car at the wrong time, and now the 75 has a mirror full of the 98, while Brett Suggs goes to work on Conrad Murphy and Tanton Woolridge.
Kyle Gammon is looking very racy behind the 75 of Mike Alexander. Looks like he's getting ready to take over that second place position, trying to find the right time to do it as they work through traffic. Conrad Murphy slapped the outside wall there as second and third get by underneath of him. Tanton Woolridge getting taken care of by Brett Suggs. All sorts of elements getting in the way here of these top 3, but they're doing a great job of managing all of it. They're putting on a great performance at the front of the field, racing with a lot of respect and keeping the green flag conditions going here. Long stretch of green flag racing that we've got going on right now.
Yeah, don't want to jinx it at all because these guys are putting on a fantastic show, but it's about to be go time. These top 3 have put on a tremendous battle up in front. We haven't seen a whole lot of other battles in the last 15 laps or so here if you're watching us on Verdane TV, but it's because this battle is one of the best on the racetrack. And you look at those cars up in front of Brett Suggs now. You've got Ashton Tucker, you got Chris Roma, you got Mark Williams battling it out here, and they're battling hard. This is the battle for position 9, 10, and 11. The leaders are doing a great job trying to lap these cars.
And of course, you also have to think that these guys, they don't want to have an effect on the leaders' race. They know that they are way faster than what they're able to do right now. They want to be respectful of the leaders, but this is very important for these guys too. They're racing for position, and you don't know when that caution flag could come out. If they can battle and stay ahead of the leader for a little bit, maybe they catch a break and get that caution flag to stay on the lead lap. Mark Williams doesn't get that opportunity. He makes a couple mistakes, makes a meeting with the outside wall, lets all the leaders go by. Ashton Tucker will do the same. Now Chris Roma right in front of Brett Suggs, trying to hold him off, defend his position on the lead lap, but Suggs is just too strong and he'll go to the inside into turn 1.
Yeah, Brett Suggs going to make it happen. Mike Alexander going to follow through, and it looks like for the most part the lap traffic, it's a two-sided coin here. The lead lap cars are doing a great job tiptoeing their way around the lap down cars, the cars that are falling one lap down. These lap cars doing a great job not only managing their battles but also managing the battles in between the leaders as they come up at a corner number 2. Brett Suggs beginning to build a lead on Alexander.
I'm starting to feel more and more confident that Brett Suggs has done a much better job of managing his tires than what Mike Alexander has done. Or maybe he's just better at this racetrack than what Alexander is right now. Alexander not really getting too far back, but the gap just starting to open up just ever so slightly between your top two. So much precision going on amongst these top three drivers to hit those lines, manage the tires, keep the pace up, work through lap traffic. This has been very entertaining to watch. Now Craig Tully will be the next one to go a lap down. Craig Tully, he'll actually go 2 laps down as he's riding back in 22nd position. A unfortunate night for him thus far. We'll update you on a couple drivers that are in the back right now. We do have 2 retirees while this green flag action has been going on. We've noted the struggles of the 11 of Caleb Burkhart. He has finally had enough. He has retired from the event. He'll finish in 24th. And Conrad Murphy has just recently pulled off the racetrack. He'll be credited with 23rd. But we still have 22 of the 24 original starters out on the racetrack, and we only have 8 cars on the lead lap right now. That's how many cars that these guys have had to lap thus far.
Yeah, we're coming down to these last couple of laps as well, too. We'll come to 35 laps to go this time by, and yes, this battle for the lead has been great, but I'm kind of watching the battle in behind all these lap cars that have kind of collected behind the leaders. Guys like the 97 of Riley Duncan, the 2 of Ashton Tucker, that's still a battle for almost a top 10 position, and they're getting at it here near the end of this race, so I think if there is a caution that comes from it, I think it comes from this little battle right here, this little pack.
Yeah, it very well may be. We've seen how many laps that these guys have been racing with each other, just can't quite seem to escape and find any separation at the moment, which is totally fine with me. Great stuff to watch. Ashton Tucker and Riley Duncan. Duncan now going to the inside, going into turn number 1. Ooh, he drove it in deep, washes up to the middle of the racetrack. Crossover, bumper tag for Ashton Tucker. He doesn't want to give that up just quite yet. He'll pull back down to the inside. Even fight going into turn number 3. That's allowing Roger Down and Brad Hayes to close in just a little bit. They're still side by side coming off of turn 4. Riley Duncan with great momentum on the top side. Can't quite clear just yet. Craig Tully going to become a factor into this one as he starts to back up towards this battle. A little flash of the connection there on Tucker. He comes back, and now Riley Duncan is able to clear. Roger Down saw that, and he goes to the top side of the number 2 of Tucker.
We saw that a little bit earlier with these drivers giving each other a little bit of room. Ashton Tucker kind of ran out of room. That thing kind of pushed on the nose coming up out of the corner, and the 97 was there. He had to get out of the throttle in order to not run into the number 97 and spin him out. So that costs him not a position per se. He was battling for that spot, but it cost him some real estate because now Roger Down in the 21, Brad Hayes in the 17 close in on the Remax 250 champion, and Ashton Tucker trying to hold off the 17 car of Brad Hayes, Thunder car, 4-cylinder competitor at Scotia Speed World, and Brad drives it in but can't seem to get there on the 2 of Ashton Tucker.
Not quite yet, still hanging back there in position number 14. 13th place is where Ashton Tucker is now. A bit of a mistake there, I think, for Brad Hayes. Went way too high there in turn number 1, but he got a lot of momentum out of that going down the back straightaway. He clears Craig Tully and gets right back up to the back bumper of Ashton Tucker. So maybe he's experimenting with some different lines and starting to figure some stuff out. Tucker entering in the middle of the track, opens up the bottom for Brad Hayes. Hayes fills the void, looking for that position going down the back, but just can't quite make it happen. That top side has enough momentum for the 2 to stay out in front.
These are light and nimble cars anyway that iRacing has scanned to put into this super late model, and with the fuel load burning off now, these cars get a little bit lighter. The tires are a little bit worn out. It makes it hard to drive, especially in the middle of the pack, and especially if you're fighting back here with guys like Ashton Tucker, the 17 of Brad Hayes. They've got a little bit of damage sporting on their race car, so they're just trying to hold on for dear life right now. 25 laps to go. This time by for Brett Suggs, and Brett Suggs is pulled away by about 4 lengths over Mike Alexander. This is the best battle on the racetrack for position, even though it is a position 1 lap down. Your top 3 have kind of separated themselves from each other and trying to ride to the end of this.
Now the lead lap car of Keith McClellan, that's the 5th place driver. He is starting to work his way through this traffic. He's kind of in a world of his own right now. He's about, I'd say, 5.5 seconds off of Matthew Barkhouse, and he's got almost 7 seconds ahead of Travis Roma for position number 6. So he's got plenty of space to work with to get through this lap traffic. Been a very clean and consistent run for that 30 machine of Keith McClellan. He came into the night 5th place in points. looking to drop last week's finish of an 11th place at Langley Speedway. So far on pace to do that, and if he's able to do that, maybe he has a shot to enter the championship mix. He's only 11 points out of the lead.
And, you're looking at those points, Mike Rhino right now trying to, caution. Yeah, yellow flag is out on the speedway, and that's going to change everything with less than 25 laps to go in this one. And how many cars in the lead lap? 7? Oh, this is going to get exciting.
Trouble going into turn number 1 between a couple of lapped cars. The 5 machine of Craig Tully got some help getting slid around there in turn number 1 from the 24 of Jake Goodwin. This is going to be very, very interesting with the tire strategy. I'm honestly surprised that the caution flag came out for that one, Paul. Craig Tully never went around.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick look at this replay. You can see the 5 and the 24 there. Racing, it looks like the 24 got it in a little bit hot, got it in the back of the 5. Doesn't hit anything. There's a really great shot of the marbles up top, but nobody hits anything. Everybody straightens it back out, grabs the gear, gets on back to it. But we want to, the race right now, the story is going to be at the end of pit road, and we're going to see if we can switch the pit road camera here and take just a peek and see who's going to come down for tires. You got to figure somebody in that top 10. You can see the front couple of guys up there on pit road right now. Those guys are going to be grabbing some tires. It's going to be really interesting these last 20 or so laps with some guys on fresh tires, other guys not, Kyle.
How about this? Brett Suggs appears to win the race off of pit road, but look who is second, Tim. We haven't talked about him too much tonight. The 34 machine of Mike Rhino. He gets out ahead. Well, no, maybe he doesn't. Oh, I don't know what happens here with Mike Rhino's pulling over, letting some guys by. Did he maybe make a mistake in speed on pit road?
Pit road speed 35?
I believe that is correct. I'm going to take a look back through.
If that's the case, he sped on pit road. He was doing 37 for most of pit road, so he didn't even stop in his box, Kyle. So that'll be an end of the longest line penalty. That'll be a heartbreak if that's the case for the 34.
That is a very tough mistake to make this late in the race. Mike Rhino decided to take the Vino's Pole Award Challenge tonight. Started at the back. He was originally supposed to start in position number 6. Went to the back, worked his way back up inside the top 10. Last I knew, he was in position number 7. And now he is going to sacrifice a lot of track position. He may not lose too many positions as far as the scoreboard is concerned, but I'm pretty sure he's going to have to line up behind all of these lapped cars with an end-of-line penalty. So it's going to be pretty challenging for him to gain more positions in the final stages of this race, having so many lapped cars have to work through.
And we've got some strategy being played out here, and usually when we get near to the end of the race with drivers on different strategies and drivers with different cars per se when it comes to damage and what have you on these race cars. We got 1, 2, 3, 5 cars in front or behind the pace car that are going to get the wave around here. It's Riley Duncan, Brad Hayes, Nick Mott, Travis Roma, and that actually might be it. There might only be 4. I think Ray Craswell came down onto pit road, so that'll negate his wave around. So we're going to be going back to racing here with just under 20 laps to go, and some drivers on some different strategies here. This is going to be exciting. Pace cars off.
It'll be 17 laps to go to be exact, and I think this is where the fun is going to happen, Tim. You've got the fresh tires on. Short sprint to the finish. Get up on the wheel, use up whatever you got, and try to go to victory lane. Green flag is out. Here we go. Brett Suggs jumps out to the early advantage here. Battles between the two brothers for second, but the caution flag comes out immediately as they go into turn number 1. Trying to cycle through here to see what it was that happened. I got to be honest, I don't see any trouble around the racetrack. I'm not sure what that caution was for.
Everybody looks straight. I'll tell you while we look for it. The saving grace on that one was probably Kyle Gammon. Gammon in the number 98 car was dead sideways on that restart. I haven't seen anything for a caution, but maybe if we don't have a caution, maybe Paul can roll back and look at that restart from the number 98 because he nearly bought the farm in front of half this field.
Yeah, taking another look at it myself here, guys, I literally do not see anybody out of shape at the moment of caution. I don't know if maybe there was some type of mistake there, or if the lineup wasn't, maybe the lineup wasn't correct. They went green a little bit earlier than what they wanted to. Maybe there were some cars that weren't quite lined up. They didn't have those wave around cars caught up at the back of the field yet, so they decided to throw the caution to allow them an opportunity to close up. That would be my only guess. I don't really know. I don't see anybody in trouble here.
Yeah, we're actually going to take a quick look here at the restart Tim made allude to. We're going to take a look, focusing on the number 98, and you can tell he was definitely a little bit out of shape. I don't know if he spun the tires there. You see he pointed in the wrong direction, seemed to kind of gather it back up, but he already shook himself a little bit. See, he enters the corner a little bit high there, and he almost loses it again here as the number 42 dips on down low, and right there is where the caution came out. So definitely wasn't for the 98, but you can definitely see the 98 spun the tires there, got himself a little bit out of shape, so may very well have just been something that the race administrators, the race officials saw maybe just not quite lined up correctly, Kyle.
I got to tell you, Tim, if there's somebody that just benefited off of this extra caution flag, it's going to be that 34 machine of Mike Rhino. This is going to be treated as a completely fresh caution. Mike Rhino will now no longer have to start behind all of these lap-down cars. He's going to have the opportunity to start right with all the cars that he's racing for position. So I'm sure Mike Rhino doesn't really care too much about why the caution flag came out. He's just happy that it did, and now he'll be able to counter his mistake that he made there on pit road and have an opportunity to contend for a good finish.
And we kind of saw that battle on that restart. Mark Williams was up there. He is the free pass recipient on this caution, so he'll get his lap back. He's scored right now in position number 9, but I can relate from being next door, per se, in race control. Sometimes those cautions, sometimes you just slip a finger. Sometimes you see something that you think is going to be a caution, and you hit that button. They are running manual cautions here tonight. They're not running the sim control cautions, which is probably a good thing 9 times out of 10. But sometimes you just hit the wrong button, and that might be what happened. But now it's going to set us up for a restart with 11 laps remaining, and we'll see if Brett Suggs can get this one wrapped up or if Mike Alexander can steal it away.
We'll also pay attention to that 98 of Kyle Gammon. Hopefully he learned something there on that previous restart to prevent the tire spin here this time. Pace cars on to pit road. Brett Suggs on the gas, and we go back to green flag racing. Looks like the 98 of Gammon had a much better start, but Keith McClellan is going to challenge for that position on the bottom. A much better start for Mike Alexander as well. He hangs tough on the top side of Brett Suggs. Can't quite get there just yet. Now he pulls a little more even through the center of 3 and 4. Matthew Barkhouse stays right there, tucked up underneath the 33. He wants to stick underneath of Mike Alexander and try to take that position away, but Alexander is not giving up that top lane just yet.
We see 2 or 3 laps, and that's about all you can handle on the outside. Barkhouse going to allow his teammate a break and allow the 75 to work to that inside line. Now does Mike Alexander have anything left in the tank to go chase down Brett Suggs in the 33? Top 5 single file. Mike Rhino was making some moves in that restart, Kyle. He's up to position number 7, but he may run at a time. He's going to battle with Travis Roma for 6th.
It'll be 8 laps to go this time by. Rhino looking to the outside of Travis Roma. Can't quite get there coming off of turn number 4. They clicked off lap number 117. He'll look to the outside again going into turn number 1. Just too far back and not enough grip for him to make that move stick just yet. Brad Hayes hanging out behind him in position number 8, not threatening at the moment. He's trying to reel in that 34 machine and make it a 3-car battle for position number 6. This is all just outside of the top 5. Your top 5 cars are all lined up. Brett Suggs with a little bit of an advantage over Mike Alexander, trying to run away and hide and go to victory lane for the 2nd time this season.
Just got to hit his marks, and he'll come away with a victory and get that advantage going into that final race at North Wilkesboro next week. But Mike Alexander still there in behind. I think the battle might be for 3rd because the speedy Auto Center number 98 of Kyle Gammon, taking a look at the 15 of Barkhouse, was a little sideways that last time at a turn number 2, trying to make it happen. And Keith McClellan is there as well, trying to make up a couple of spots near the end of this. They'll come by and have 5 laps to go. You ride on board with the 98.
Kyle Gammon has spent the majority of this race on the podium in position number 3. Matthew Barkhouse has been able to snooker that position away from him. So Gammon wants to take that back. He's been running there all race long. He'd like to finish where he's been, but it's going to be hard to work his way around that 15 machine. He's always a strong competitor here. And that caution really benefited the 15 of Matthew Barkhouse. He had nothing for Kyle Gammon or Mike Alexander during that green flag run. Now that caution came out, puts him up into 3rd place, and he may even have an opportunity to steal the runner-up spot.
Yeah, he's trying to get up here and make something happen, but Kyle Gammon's got to make it happen and make it happen soon. The 15 of Matt Barkhouse in front of him, Mike Alexander about a half car length in front, and then Brett Suggs almost all by himself as they come to 2 laps to go. He's got about 3 or 4 car lengths. Here's the move for third.
Kyle Gammon gets underneath of Matthew Barkhouse going into turn number 1. They will touch panels going out of turn number 2. Gammon gets way sideways, loses that battle, and now Keith McClellan jumps to the outside. White flag one more time around the Myrtle Beach Speedway for Brett Suggs. This battle for fourth rages on into turn number 1. Even fight. No one with an advantage just yet. They're going to touch coming off of turn number 2. Drag race down the back straightaway. Who's going to take that spot? Up at the front, though, he's been strong all night. He will win his second race of the season. The Vino's Auto 125 goes to Brett Suggs. He takes the victory here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway, his second win of the season. Mike Alexander will finish in second. Matthew Barkhouse hangs on for third. Kyle Gammon is able to nip Keith McClellan at the line for fourth, forcing McClellan to finish in position number 5. Mike Rhino did find his way around Travis Roma in those closing laps. He finishes in 6th, Travis Roma 7th, Brad Hayes in 8th, Mark Williams at 9th, and concluding your top 10 in the 52 machine is Nicholas Mott.
And 11 drivers going to finish on the lead lap here this evening. So all the way back to Riley Duncan. 1 lap down, Ashton Tucker, Wade Creswell, Tanton Woolridge, Danny Veitch, Roger Down, Chris Roma, 1 lap down, 2 laps down, Derek Gates, Brandon Lively, and 3 laps down. Hanging on, just fell that last lap down at the end, Taylor Layton.
21st place finisher was Craig Tully. He was 3 laps down. Some late troubles there for the 24 of Jake Goodwin. Not exactly sure what happened there, but he falls to 22nd, 6 laps down. And then the 2 drivers that we mentioned earlier on that did not finish this event, the 23rd place finisher, the 89 of Conrad Murphy, and the 11 machine of Caleb Urquhart will be credited with 24th. Well, guys, that wraps up the racing portion. We're getting ready for post-race interviews here. I got to say, that may have been my favorite race this season. We saw a lot of different things attack these leaders, come into play throughout this race, put on a very good show all the way through, and in the end, a very statement victory. And I think this is going to put him clearly into the points lead for next week's finale at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Brett Suggs in victory lane, and we've got the opportunity to talk with him now. Brett Suggs here in victory lane, winner of the Vino's Auto 125 at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Brett, what a very entertaining race. We saw a lot of different things come into play for you guys at the front of the field. The longest green flag run that I think we've seen all season long. Lots of lap traffic. You had pressure from the top 3 the entire time. Walk us through your race and let us know what it was like to battle all the way through.
Man, that was such a fun race to run so many laps under green flag and really playing some strategy with tire conservation and just all sorts of things. I mean, we had a great race up front. I think Mike, Kyle, and I were pretty much checked out from the pack. I think Matthew might have been pretty close in 4th there, but yeah, to get a green flag run as long as we did, that's something I was looking forward to coming into tonight because I knew it wasn't same kind of track like Langley or Oxford where you'd see a lot of yellow flags, but definitely a tough race. I am drenched head to toe sweat, and I was working my tail off trying to hold off Mike there in the closing laps, but fortunate enough to come out clean and out front.
Brett, talk us through some of your tire conservation strategy through that green flag run. Mike Alexander led a lot of laps early on. Maybe the lap traffic kind of allowed you and Kyle Gammon to close in, but once you were there, you never relented. You were able to eventually get your way around the 75 of Mike Alexander for the race lead, and you didn't lose it once you took it. You never really pulled away by a huge margin, but you kept a pretty comfortable space back to the 75 and led a lot of laps up until that caution.
Yeah, when he got the lead on one of those early yellow flags, I knew I didn't want to be in control of the race. Well, I wanted to, but I wanted to save my tires as well. So I let him drive it pretty hard, and for me, just riding around in second, not having to wash up coming out of the corners, not pushing it too hard, getting back into the throttle, just different things you can do. I'm not going to tell you all the secrets, of course, but just different things you can do to try to save these tires, and then just make a run at it. And luckily, it worked because we had such a long green flag run that we were able to see the difference in tires there just a little bit to catch them in the lap traffic. And then once we made a great pass underneath them, it stuck and we maintained the lead. So just I think he might have used his tires up just a little bit too soon. But I mean, that's just all part of Myrtle Beach. I've raced here in real life, and I think that might be an added benefit knowing just how abrasive this surface is. So that definitely helped here on the iRacing tonight.
Brett, this was the final race before we calculated a drop, and you have been insanely consistent this season. This is your second win, and you have not finished worse than second all season long. While you were running in second there, I could be totally wrong with this, but I feel like if you were to finish in second, you were coming into tonight having to try to replace a second place finish, with that being your current drop week. How important was it for you to get around Mike Alexander to win this race and beat him? And looking at your guys' finishes, I believe that you're going to go into the finale next week at North Wilkesboro with a slight advantage in the points.
Yeah, I was certainly thinking of points the entire race. I knew I couldn't let him walk away from me, and I knew I had to finish ahead of him just with the drops and everything. So yeah, to have our worst finish being second, I think he dropped a third. So I think all the races in the season, I think he's had second or better as well. So we came in tonight tied, and I knew if I could finish ahead of him, like you said, we'd have that point advantage going into the final race. Now, next race, I mean, it's going to be a tough one. There's going to be a lot of competition all the way down to the wire, so it's going to be exciting to watch for sure.
Brett, what are your thoughts going into North Wilkesboro next week? It's one of the newest short tracks on the iRacing service. Not a huge amount of time to really become as successful at that racetrack as you have maybe some of the other short tracks on the schedule. Are you confident going into that finale next week? Is it something that you think you're going to have to work on coming up this next week? What are we feeling like with an opportunity to win a championship next week?
Yeah, I'm relatively confident. My first race back to iRacing, well, a week before this series started, was actually a practice race for this series, and they raced at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Now, Barkhouse beat me. I finished a close second, but definitely, I think since we've had this season to kind of see how these cars handle and how to conserve tires, I think that's been a lot of the ways I've been practicing for the final race. So I think that's all going to come into key when it comes race time, and I think that'll definitely help me by the end of it.
It's going to be a very fun championship battle to watch next week. Your second win on the season, Brett. Who would you like to thank for getting back to victory lane?
Absolutely. Shout out to everybody that tuned into my stream tonight. They saw one heck of a race battling for the lead there, as well as the Custom Matco, Speed Energy Drink, Lignor and Power Cleaning, Breasthugs Racing Marketing, everybody that helps my IRL racing program. We just wrapped up our season this past weekend, and definitely looking to kick things off next year very strong. So shout out to everybody that helps me in that department, just as well as you guys and Craig for putting on this great league.
The winner of tonight's Vino's Auto 125 at the Myrtle Beach Speedway, the 33 machine of Brett Suggs. Win number 2 on the season. We are 5 races down. Championship finale next week at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. And I believe that that man is going to go into it with the slight advantage over our second place finisher and the man that Tim is now ready to talk to, the 75 machine of Mike Alexander.
Yeah, but you can't count this guy out. Mike finishing in second place tonight, maybe besides an outside line that didn't come in. What else did you need here tonight to get by Brett Suggs?
Well, once he got by me there, I completely forgot about my brake bias. I threw some rear brake in it, and I felt like I could run with him then. And I honestly thought I could have got him on the top. I got a good jump and stayed out there, and he was just really good on the bottom. Like I was really surprised that he could run that well down there.
Had a long green flag run and had a lot of that lap traffic come into play. How big was that when you guys were trying to get through and not only managing to get by them, but also trying to battle for that lead position?
Yeah, most of them guys were really good, and they give you lots of room. Couple times it was pretty hairy. There was a lot of them there, and not much any of us can do. And it was just, I was trying to tippy toe around and trying to manage the gap to Brett, and I seen he was sneaking up and getting closer and closer when I was going through the traffic, and I knew it wasn't going to be good because I think I'd figured I'd burnt my tires up a little bit more than him.
Now we factor in that drop week going into North Wilkesboro, going to be heads up there. You're not going to be able to drop that race. He has that little bit of momentum going into next week, finishing in this first place position tonight. What are your thoughts going in? You battle for championships before. What do you got to do to take this one away?
I just got to go there and do my job and, focus on winning the race. Wherever they fall, they fall. It's going to be tough to beat him. He's really fast and he's going to be up there. So, all I can focus on is what I can do. And what I can do is go, run up front and make sure I get a shot at it.
Another beautiful looking number 75 car. Who makes it happen for you?
Just the guys over at Rev Racing. I want to thank them, Aaron Kinson's Auto Salvage, Zander Sign Group, and I want to just give a shout out to everybody that watches on my stream. I got a pretty faithful base that watches me every week, so I just want to give a shout out to them and you guys for putting it on, and Vino's for sponsoring, and Craig for putting this on. Everybody that makes this happen.
So there you go, Kyle. That's Mike Alexander finishing in position number 2 here this evening and led a lot of laps. That battle next week going to be big for that championship. But another guy that had a really great run tonight you're standing beside, it's Matthew Barkhouse.
Yeah, here with Mike Alexander's brother, Matthew Barkhouse. Matthew, a third-place finish here tonight. We didn't really see a lot of you up in amongst that lead group throughout that long green flag run, but that caution flag seemed to be exactly what you needed. You were able to steal away that third-place finish from Kyle Gammon.
Yeah, track position everything here tonight. With the new tire model that they put on these cars, it seems like it's getting a lot harder to pass. And at the beginning there, when I realized that, I laid off a little bit trying to save tires, and I quickly realized I could not get back up there and close that gap. So I was thankful for that caution there at the end, because I knew I was a fast enough car to run with those top 2 guys there. Just a bad call on my part to lay back a bit.
Matthew, what were some of the obstacles that you had to face throughout this race? Lots of lap traffic during that long green flag run. We heard Brett Suggs mention about how abrasive that this racetrack is and how important the tire conservation was during that run. What kind of things did you have to deal with there, and what do you think you maybe could have done a little bit better to have an opportunity to stick with those top 3 a little further on?
Yeah, this track was definitely really hard on the tires. Getting up to those lap cars, it was getting tough to get by them. Just the fact that the outside lane was a little bit better in the center of the corner. So when you get the run to the bottom of them, the car just wouldn't turn anymore, because after we all had laps on our tires, the cars were extremely tight. We went from probably around 52% front brake to near the max rear at 46%. The car still wouldn't turn. I think the only thing they really could have done better was just not let those guys get away trying to save tires and just kind of be up there in case there was a wreck or something.
The third-place finish tonight is going to eliminate your 21st place finish that you had 2 weeks ago at the Oxford Plains Speedway. So should give you a nice little boost up into the point standings going into the finale next week at North Wilkesboro Speedway. What are some of the goals for the final race of the season? What do we need to do with this 15 machine to have a successful run and cap this season off the way you want to?
Yeah, I definitely want to get a win. I think it was like either 2 or 3 of those pole challenges there, and we didn't realize how hard it was going to be to get back up through, just because of this tire model. Like I was saying, it's hard to pass. So I'm not too worried about any sort of points finish. I just like to get a win here, because I feel like I'm fast enough for that. Just taking those few pole challenges hurt those chances.
A solid effort here tonight, Matthew. Third place run. Who makes it happen for your guys and puts you in this position tonight?
All the guys here at Racing, Mike, my brother, and Rhino, Keith, and then all the guys that are on the race car that are on the real cars as well, Zander Sign Group, Celtic Air Services, and Kinsman's Auto Salvage.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Third place finisher in tonight's Vino's Auto 125. The 15 machine of Matthew Barkhouse came into the night 6th place in the point standings. He was 20 points out of the championship lead. He will drop that 21st place finish he had a couple weeks ago. Not exactly sure how the entirety of the point standings are going to shape up after tonight's race, but that is going to have a dramatic benefit for him and put him at a very good opportunity to contend for a top 5 finish in the overall standings. Tim, what a race that we saw here tonight. Not only do I think that this was the best race of the season, but I think this was probably the best race that we've had on Verdane TV with these drivers. We've seen these guys race so many times on Verdane TV, whether it be in this league, with some of the events that you've come to us. Just a very fun race to watch. We had a huge stretch of green flag racing, but there were so many elements that those leaders had to deal with that it really kept it exciting the whole way through.
Yeah, the green flag run definitely separated the men from the boys on this 125-lap race tonight presented by Vino's Truck and Auto. But you saw Brett Suggs, Mike Alexander, and great run by Kyle Gammon as well to be up there in battle for the win. Through the middle portion of this race, Mike Rhino had the charge from the back of the field. Lots of elements to watch throughout this one. Very intriguing race. Congratulations once again to Brett Suggs on winning this one. We'll roll next week to North Wilkesboro and see who comes out with the championship.
Should be a very fun finale, to say the least. Very tight points battles. So much competition in this league. And it's great to have you in with us here tonight, Tim. I know that you're very familiar with these guys. You've done a lot of officiating for their races. You're very familiar with their real-world accomplishments as well. And now we're in the month of November, so we'll let you and kind of let Paul do the promoting. I know we're inching closer and closer to your big event that we got coming up here on Verdane TV in a couple weeks.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. It's a Tuesday night, but we're not racing for $100,000 like we did last night. But yeah, it's been fun tonight. Looking forward to next week's finale. And then we've got the Tim's Corner Motorsports 300 coming up the next week after, where we're going to have some qualifying nights to get into the show. And then the 300 lapper culminates the week on Friday, November 20th. And then we've got some special stuff coming up in November and December from the Tim's Corner stuff. So we'll let you know a little bit about that later on, potentially this week, maybe next. But Paul, you've got some more stuff coming up, starting with tomorrow. I'm excited for tomorrow night's race.
I am excited for tomorrow too, not only for tomorrow night's race, but it is Kyle Young's birthday tomorrow. And I'm not going to sing because I'm awful at it. But happy birthday, Kyle.
That
Thank
hurts
you.
my feelings. I would love to hear that on the air.
We definitely appreciate it. We love you here at Verdane TV. And we're definitely going to give you the night off so you can knock back a few wobbly pops, as our friends north of the wall like to say. But, man, November, like you said, Kyle, we got a jam-packed month starting tonight. RBR Maritime Group, these guys put on a heck of a show here tonight. Tomorrow night with the Nep Bets Neps All-Star Race. Say that 27 times fast. It's going to be a doubleheader tomorrow night, and they're actually racing for points, which is pretty cool. That's definitely unique for an all-star race, so that's going to be a pretty cool event. Those guys, the New England, Pennsylvania iRacing Series, putting that on, going to be getting down at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, so that's going to be cool. Definitely don't want to miss that. Thursday night, Sim 500 returns over here to Verdane TV for the Michigan 150, and look at that, Sunday night. It's going to be the first night of 4 next week that we're racing here on Verdane TV. The East Coast Winter League kicks off with their East Coast Winter League Pro Series, and that's going to be the 8th of Sunday. Pretty cool little deal. They're actually running doubleheaders on every single Sunday night, and the Pro Series at 8 o'clock is going to be broadcast here on Verdane TV, sponsorship pending. They are still looking for sponsors over there, so be sure to hit them up on Facebook. But at 6 o'clock each night at the very same track, they're running a light series. And this guy, the number 94, Paul Strickland, is going to be running that light series. So very excited about that. Going to be cool to run in the back of the pack with those cats over there. Then you guys made mention to a couple of times already, RBR Championship night next Tuesday night right here on Verdane TV. Do not want to miss it. And then we've got the Neps guys are back for the Ted Christopher, Mike Stefanik Memorial Race. That's going to be at Stafford Motor Speedway on the 12th. And then next Saturday, holy smokes, am I stoked for next Saturday. Biggest sim racing collaboration to date. Sim 500 meets Verdane Racing for the Sim 500 Verdane Racing Super Speedway Championship. We do want to make sure that everybody, all of the leagues that have worked with us here at Verdane TV over the past 8 to 10 months since we've been doing this back in March, absolutely invited to join this series. It's a $20 entry fee, get you in for the entire series. Top 3 every single week, paid positions. And the biggest thing, 2 big things. The championship belt is returning. That should actually be 100% completed this week. I should have that in hands by next weekend. Really, really excited about that. It's a gorgeous belt. We've seen some of the mock-up graphics throughout the night here and throughout the website and the Facebook and all the social media and stuff like that. So very, very excited for that. And finding out over the weekend, getting that phone call from Gary Spinato Jr., the owner of Rent a Race Car, co-owner of Rent a Race Car, says, hey, you know what? We're gonna do the rental deal again. So the champion of this Super Speedway series, not only do they get a custom, 100% custom championship belt, but they also get the opportunity to get inside a real street stock at Stafford Motor Speedway for a NASCAR sanctioned race. I've done it 3 times myself. I got a top 10 once. My claim to fame in the real racing world, and we've seen many sim racers get in behind the wheel for the first time, even with Run a Race Car. You've got your Josh Parkers, you've got your Mike Montesi's from Sim 500, lots of cats that have, kind of done the sim racing deal, jumped behind the wheel of a real race car, and blown everybody out of the water. So, pretty cool deal that we got going on. If you want to sign up for it, definitely check it out at verdane.net/sim500. You'll get all the details there. But, you know what? That's going to wrap it up here for us tonight. We got a little bit of a race we got to watch on the news TV there for the presidential election, and we won't get into politics here because we don't do that if it ain't TV. So we're going to knock a few back, and then next time we see you, we'll be hammered down. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for inviting us into your home. You guys have yourselves a fantastic evening.